welcome to Wednesday night Techthusiasm live podcast recording. I was hoping to actually kind of announce this one a day or two early, but alas, I just did today, going into the 4th of July weekend, and we don't have any big specific plans in mind yet, but I'm sure we will end up busy doing something. So yeah, Sunday timing could have been a little up in the air, and I'm just like got this mounting number of topics I think and things to talk about. So it's been a busy little stretch here in this last week. So yeah, so we're here tonight, hopefully talking about some of the latest content that hit the channel, some of the theater tweaks, some reflection on that. I got invited to this really cool Sony, really like a dealer event more than a press and marketing dealer event. Talk a little bit about that. I've got a new toy. Finally, it's here. They're here. So I haven't even opened it. I took the plastic off the box. So I figure we'll spend a little bit of time maybe opening those up and exploring them. Of course, there'll be content to come, a few other minor things, and yeah, we'll have some fun. If anybody's got questions, topics, anything like that along the way, feel free to put them in the chat. Of course, a couple of first shout outs here. Julius, the OG tech enthusiast. SBC Cave, welcome. You're up late. I'm usually up this late, but usually it's just getting harder and harder to do these kind of things on the weekdays. I literally didn't even fully finish with my son. Put him to bed. We read some comic books. We're reading the big tome of the Avengers. Although he's mostly into the Hulk, he likes the action. He likes the action of the Hulk, but I'm still on the classic 1960s Marvel Comics kick with both my kids. Having a lot of fun with that. A few other updates. Thankfully, I'm feeling so much better than I have in the last few weeks. Still got a little bit of lingering cough. I think it'll take me some time before that fully goes away. But I actually got out on the soccer field this weekend. If you follow me on Instagram, I put up some of the soccer photos. Funny story here while we just get started. It was my daughter's tournament, Grand Haven, Michigan, Lake Michigan, west side of the state, soccer in the sand. They've done it the last few years. Really cool 5-on-5 game. And I pulled together this grand idea to pull together a bunch of the parents, mostly dads. We thought we might get a co-ed team, but there weren't that many. There weren't that many of the moms that actually wanted to play. So we had one that stuck in, but we had just enough, maybe with the sub or two, to kind of feel the team. We registered this team. It's supposed to be the over 40, or originally an over 30, then possibly over 40 league. In any case, we should have been matching up against people our age, and it turns out that we were the only old team registered in the entire tournament. So we show up for our first game, and it's nothing but 21 to like 23-year-old really fit guys, and they proceeded to essentially pound us. So we lost our first game 16-1. I was the goalie, but I will say that letting in only 16-ish goals was pretty good relative to the number of shots that I faced in that game. We lost our second game 15-2, and then some guys started dropping. But anyway, it was a pretty wild weekend. We didn't even play the third game. A couple guys got injured, and everybody else was like, I'm checking out. I was willing to play that third game. But if you go through the channel, hit the Instagram, I put up some pictures, a couple good action photos and stuff that my wife took. So I didn't have a lot of lungs to run around, but even playing goal burnt me out pretty good. So we had a good weekend away, and now back. I'm going to be having to really kind of bust out a whole lot of content here real quick. I will for the first time in a while, like I have no videos made, nothing filmed, nothing edited, and nothing queued and ready to go. I got plenty of topics to be talking about. I think there's been a lot of interesting kind of conversation and other stuff going on. But being away, being sick, summertime, and all that stuff just it's tough kind of keeping up. But I don't want to miss an upload, and I want to get all these kind of cool topics and all this stuff out. So stay tuned. There will be regular content continuing to come as we also to shelter in place from the abysmal air quality. I actually went to the gym today, walking to the gym, nothing but like haze in the sky. It smelled like essentially the neighborhood was burning down with this wildfire stuff. Pretty wild. So a couple other shout outs, Bodie McBoatface, another regular around Techthusiasm, and the other channels in the fun YouTube space here. So welcome one, welcome all. Again, if you would, I appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way in, drop a comment, let me know who's out there. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if you've done anything interesting in your home theater, your AV, your hi-fi spaces since last we talked, whatever it's been, a week and a half or so ago. So in the interim, I've been doing what I think has been some pretty fun stuff, I think, around the theater room. Three really, I would say, like, really minor, or in some cases, really, to me, no cost, but pretty impactful changes or tweaks. I call them tweaks around the space. So the last three videos that hit the channel talked about the moving the subwoofers, which I've discussed a little bit on the last podcast, and putting moving, instead of having both subwoofers in the front of the room, moving one to the back corner, having them in opposing corners, basically getting all of that mid bass region back. And so I'm really liking the audio, particularly, again, the bass in the theater, quite a lot. Since then as well, I put up the video about the masking. I had the 16:9 panels available now to be able to mask out from the scope aspect ratio screen down to the 16:9 screen. And it was really hard to capture that on film, actually. And I took some still photos, but like maintaining the right exposure on the camera, I think the exposure shifted, and some of the differences that show up in the color aren't really necessarily indicative of what it looks like. It's more the kind of the camera having some effect there. But I would definitely say, if you've been on the fence about adding some masking, or whether you may want to use some masking, it really does darken up those areas. Although it's not transformative. I don't want to give it like too much of a credence, but it definitely makes an improvement. I think already having a very black room that gets very dark relative to the bright, to the actual used screen space when an image is being projected on it, there's such a difference in brightness there that the screen really does go dark. And in the video, I talked about it really being like dark gray, very near black, or almost black already. But the masking just makes, of course, everything disappear. It really makes me contemplate, I would say, in a future iteration of the room or some future upgrade, considering the idea of an automated masking system. So there was a lot of comments about this, and kind of dialoguing with folks in the comments of that video, and saying, like, folks have a scope screen, and they either mask or they don't mask, or they mask in certain ways, or even some with the 16:9 screen and they're masking above, or do they mask above and below, or do they shift the image down and only mask above? So many different options available there. But I would still, for any future theater that I might put together, I think still stick with the idea that a scope screen and a wider than 16:9 screen is still, I think, very much a preference of mine relative to the content that I usually watch. Again, talking about movies, many movies being in a wider than 16:9 format, or like a premium television show, which in many cases nowadays is 2.0, or even all the way, kind of full scope. But being able to have a masking system that would come in and be able to integrate with the control floor and everything else and hit certain stops would just be the ultimate. Of course, talking now about more expensive equipment, more points of failure, and more cost and complexity, of course, in the home theater system and all of that. But I still have to actually get the whole magnet installation system of the masks up as well. So to date, when I've been using them, I've kind of just been putting them up, and there's a little bit of tension just by kind of the frame tension holding them in. But the reality is there's supposed to be magnets on the back of the frame. But I'm hoping to have Mr. Dan DiCarlo, local home theater integrator, and of course my source for that Seymour screen, stop by sometime in the coming days or coming week or whatnot, help me get the screen down, and we'll get all of the magnets in the right spot, so that the mask would be able to just kind of rest up against the frame nice and easy. The magnets will hold it in place, and it'll make it an easy pop on and off, because the screen tension certainly isn't enough you get enough bass, you get enough shake and rumble, and then the mask will end up just kind of falling, uh, falling right out. So that was good. Of course, we haven't watched actually a 16:9 movie. Even when I was trying to make the video, again, kind of as evidence, I think, of wanting to stick to more of a scope screen format, and happy with it in theater, and recommending it to other folks and such as well, is amongst the 100 and whatever 170 movies that I had downloaded on the Kaleidoscape. As I was scrolling through, it took me a long time just to find a 16:9 movie. I found some 185s, sure, but so much of everything is like 235, 240 in ultra widescreen anyway. So I ended up doing the video and the pictures that I took and stuff. Was the Lion King. I had to go, had to go back to an quite old now, whatever that is, 30 years. So the movie came out in the 90s sometime. Before even finding a 16:9 film, if that also speaks to either the types of movies that I like, or the age of them or whatnot, or the fact that, again, if you're building a theater for a cinematic purpose, I really like the scope. Um, and then the last video, of course, that came out was talking about changing the projector bulb. Went ahead and moved forward with doing that. And wow, that was I have to admit, far more impactful than I thought. I'm really glad now to have done that. I'm really glad that I bought the meter also. We do a lot of kind of tinkering around in our spaces, and especially as like an engineer, being able to actually measure something and kind of know, um, objectively, that there was a pretty significant improvement there. So from a bulb, a JVC NX7 bulb with 1,073 hours on it, to a brand new bulb, was a difference of about 23% brightness, as measured by the light meter in Lux. I don't have the meter actually sitting here with me to hold up and show off, but it was in the last video. $30, easy purchase for the affirmation and the peace of mind that, wow, this was pretty considerable. And I'll admit, we haven't been down there as a family or even by myself yet to really fire up a movie since having changed the bulb. Hopefully we will soon, or in this next week. We had just wrapped up the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy with the kids, and I think we might move into the Sony Amazing Spider-Mans, or maybe rewatch the first Spider-Verse or something. But just a little tinkering that I did, like that light was impactful. It really makes me want to ultimately, or make me very happy when the time and the day comes to go ahead and make a full bore projector upgrade, and be sitting on some 20 some hundred lumen or 3,000 lumen, or whatever maybe the next round of JVC models can hit in terms of brightness, when they come. I'll be very happy to have that brightness up on the screen. So yeah, so that was impactful. And again, I had that bulb sitting here. It's been on my shelf for years. I got it for free when I bought the projector. So it's very easy for me to say, maybe you want to change your bulb, when I didn't have to drop a few hundred or more to actually buy that bulb. I had it sitting there, but I might as well be the one to benefit from having all that extra brightness, not the next owner. So, and I still have the old one, of course, kept it in the box as a fallback, just in case something happens with the replacement. And when I do sell the projector, or it moves on to its new owner, they can basically have them both, and kind of take their pick. So a couple comments rolling in here. Andy B, welcome. Purely bought my Kaleidoscape based on your videos. Well, I appreciate that. So I really strive to be the guy, be the K guy. And that doesn't mean that I'm just a blind fanboy about it, but that I like to cover. It's a platform that I like to cover. It's a platform that I've been a customer of for a number of years. It's a platform that I'm happy, exists. Certainly, I would like it to be cheaper. The point of it, the cost of entry and all that stuff, so we could have more, continue to grow the base, and get more people into it. But as long as the company is healthy, I think they're providing something in the home theater space that really nobody else is. And who knows if and when we're going to get higher quality streaming along the line. So to me, like, Kaleidoscape is an important company in this hobby, particularly for the way that I like to use it. So and I don't think that they're always kind of properly covered. A lot of the Kaleidoscape discussions in social spaces and other places tend to just devolve into debate over the price, and people unable to kind of get over the price of entry and all that. So I like that the audience here, the community here, tends to transcend that. Even the folks that maybe it's a little beyond their means don't necessarily belittle it. But there are quite a few folks in the audience as well that are hopefully learning more about it, the ins and outs, the pros and cons. It's not perfect. I'm one of the first ones to line up for all of the things or just talk about all the things that I would like Kaleidoscape to do, features and capabilities and advancements and all that stuff. But yeah, that's awesome, Andy. Welcome to the platform. There was a post actually on the owners forum, Kscape owners forum, that I made a couple years ago that I called the Millennium Club, asking for folks to post if you have more than 1,000 movies in your K library. So there's and I noticed there was a couple of recent replies to that. A few other folks just joined the Kaleidoscape Millennium Club, and I realized as well that I'm 2 pages of movies in my library on K ahead of just having made the Millennium Club a couple years ago. So I've added another few hundred movies to my library since then. I'll get into it. I don't want to get into it so much now tonight, but there was a really interesting Facebook post to one of the home theater groups, maybe the Show Me Your Home Theater group, where somebody came in and said, I hear a lot of talk about Kaleidoscape. Is it really that good? Or, if you own it, say something about it. And there was obviously that blew up. that posting has had a lot of comments. And I added some in there as well, of course. But there was one thread of discussion that kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent. But the person that was having, I would say, not specifically a voice of dissent about it, but had some specific challenging comments about physical media, 4K Blu-ray, and really honestly just believing that 4K Blu-ray is like better, quote unquote, than Kaleidoscape, and better in quality in particular, because of certain like technical maximums or like published specifications about what's possible to put on a Blu-ray. So I was just going back and forth with this person. Thankfully, nicely, we were not arguing at all. I wrote kind of just a challenging note to his initial statement, but then we dialogued a little bit more, and there was some confusion points in there. I ended up sharing the video to that thread about the one sometime back where I took like 40-ish disc rip MKVs and compared the size against the Kaleidoscape downloads, and as supporting evidence that disc doesn't carry larger sizes and higher bit rate than Kaleidoscape by and large. But still, that thread brought up some even more like kind of confused points, or points where people had a misconception of what the reality of the technical aspects and all that was. So again, I'm just like lining up ideas for content. I need to spin out these videos and kind of get them going. So yeah, we're going to get to the headphones. Bodhi says he just bought a pair of RF3 Metas. Got the indigo blue color. Let me see what an RF3 is. Oh, the Klipsch. Oh, nice. Ooh, indigo blue. Cool. Love reference 3 Metas. Awesome looking speakers there. Klipsch is coming on with some new stuff. I know there's been Andrew Robinson, and I think some other folks have been talking about the new subwoofer line that they have. Always cool to see new features, new products, and all that stuff from all these companies. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Klipsch at Audio Advice Live coming up as well. Oh, Kef, sorry. Oh, I referenced 3. My bad. I'm talking in circles here. RF3. Okay, the bookshelves. I don't know. I'm totally looking at the wrong stuff. Yeah, Kef. Okay, I said Klipsch, not Kef. That's my bad. Reference 3 Meta Tower, 14,999 a pair. Did you go for those big boys, Bodie? Or the bookshelves? Cool. Another one at Audio Vice Live. So speaking of shows, let's talk about the Sony event a little bit. So Mr. Dan DiCarlo, a friend of the channel, he's been on live streaming quite a bit, local Southeast Michigan custom installer integrator, did all kinds of work in that on our house here. Through one of his, I don't know what you call them necessarily. It was a Sony event, but it was put on by like a third party marketing company. But focused on Sony. So this was pretty cool. I'd never really been to like a specific type of event like this. I wasn't really able, I got to be careful a little bit about what I talk about. I didn't really want to take pictures and video and stuff as well. But it was kind of the first event where I was able to see all the Sony, basically all the Sony L series or almost all the Sony L series TVs lined up with each other. And look at like the OLED and the LEDs and all that kind of side by side. They had the big 98, which was just looking absolutely sweet. I think that thing would be very, very nice back there in the living room. The 98X90L was pretty cool. they talked about some audio and stuff like that as well. Some different form factors and such of speakers and integrating speakers with TVs and the center channel features and stuff like that. And then they had a projector room. And in the room, they had basically the GTZ 380 and they had all the 5,000, 6,000, right, and 7,000, all three essentially of the current Sony laser projector models, which was also pretty cool to kind of see them side by side, all up on the same screen and stuff like that. They didn't really do too much of a shoot off. There was one element that they focused on, basically kind of justifying why there's a difference between, the top model and the step down, having to do with like color and in the way the image looks. So they were going back and forth a little bit there. And I have to say, the Sony projectors looked pretty good. They also had the new MadVR Mark II Envy running on that. And who walks in? But of course, Ryan, right? To basically do a MadVR demo. So he had flown in just for this event. So we chatted for a little while. That was pretty cool. But I got to see, a full live kind of hands-on demo showing like MadVR tone mapping versus not. Of course, they did the aspect ratio demo and such with Interstellar and showing off the linear stretching. But I also got to see the first look at the new like motion interpolation feature of the new MadVR. And that was, I have to say, that was all really, really cool. I really need to kind of step up in my request and contacts, and we'll see to get some demo time with the MadVR, whether that's even an original Mark I or a Mark II or whatnot. I would really like to spend some time with that in the theater room as well, particularly after having kind of played around with the Lumigen so recently. But I have to say, like, if I were running or had my hands on or owned one of those top end MadVRs capable of doing some of that motion interpolation, I think I would probably be inclined to want to use it to some extent. They had a couple scenes, some panning shots from like 1917, and then a walking scene in Baby Driver, where I think towards the beginning where the main character is kind of walking through the city, walking through New York or whatever, wherever they're at in that movie. And being able to turn on, different levels of compensation and see things side by side and all of that. This is going to be, I think, a sweet new feature coming to folks that have, of course, the MadVR hardware. I'm not sure if you have to have the new model to run it, or maybe if you have the higher level of the older one or some upgrades, there may be a little bit of compatibility there, or I think a lot of the difference in the MadVR models is just the amount of horsepower that you have to be able to turn up the application or the depth of the power of like some of the algorithms that the processor is running. But it was pretty neat. I was pretty impressed overall by that whole thing. And I have to say, the new model, it does look really cool. Not to say that the old one didn't look nice as well, but I think the old one was a little more PC kit, and I think the new one is quite a bit more sophisticated, like integrated video gear, if that makes sense. Um, so pretty cool, pretty fun, and hoping to out of the contacts and the conversations that I had there, be able to get a hold of some more stuff. So Michael, welcome Michael, saying Sony promote Mad VR. No, so it wasn't really, that wasn't there necessarily for Sony. Again, there's like a third party marketing company that kind of works in the state or in the region as a distributor, and they specifically put the event on in terms of Sony. They had a couple other little things around as well. Um, like I think is it Salamander, the cabinet company. There was a little bit of stuff there. So this marketing company reps a good dozen or so different firms, and MadVR is one of them. NAD is on their list. They've got a whole bunch of them that are part of their stack. But again, the day was really kind of focused around Sony, and they had specifically, and it was for the dealers. So there was a whole bunch of Southeast Michigan dealers that turned up again to basically learn about the new products. They talked all about the L series TVs and kind of compare to contrast the lines and the models. They actually talked about their pro stuff as well, and like the crystal displays and the video walls and all that. So that was really interesting, kind of learning directly from right the Sony rep giving the talk, what they're doing in there, and how that stuff is progressing. And then they had another kind of presentation on that was in the projectors, and but they kind of rolled the idea of the Mad VR demo kind of in with it as well. So they talked for a while at first just about the Sony projectors and showing off the 380. That thing is so bright. It's so wild seeing that projector, especially in a smaller space. I saw a 380 once before last year at Audio Advice Live. It was in a pretty big room in a pretty big screen, and it didn't have quite the same impact of being in like a smaller, still a little bit of a ballroom, but it still wasn't a very huge room. In the screen that they did have set up, wasn't like some 180-inch monster or anything like that. But I don't remember what the movie scene was that they played on it. But as that thing came from dark to light, we were like we were all shielding our eyes at just how bright that projector gets. It's insane to see that in person, but I guess you should expect to get a lot for 80,000 bucks. But if you're gonna go, if you're up at that level, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, we'll see where things go. Twism, welcome. Only coming to the Mark II models. That extreme version. Okay, extreme version of old and new will support the motion interpolation. I think with the 4000 series cards, the new one will, it might still get a little bit more out of it, or you may be able to like turn the dials up a little bit more. So anybody in the chat right now has a Mad VR, sound off. Let me know share what you think of it. It's a pretty solid piece of kit. Michael Lawless, yeah, the 98 TV, actually in a reasonable price. Yeah, it's under 10 grand now, right? 9,000 MSRP, I think it is. 98 XL90, and I would expect we'll see some sales as we get later on into the year with these big TVs. Right? Yeah, 9999999, lots of nines. So, but we're under 10K, and I think last year by the time Black Friday rolled around and stuff, TCL had a like almost a 50% off sale on their 98-inch screen. I think TCL, the new M, I believe it's the M, but the 2023 model 98 TCL is going to put some pressure on the whole 98 market, or the 90-inch plus market, and we'll see. I've got just enough room in there to be able to hold one of those TVs. That size could get even more affordable very quickly in the coming years than and we'll see what happens. Yeah, Twism, love to hear impressions. You got the Lumigen, awesome. I think they're both really great devices. I think the Mad VR. I can see how the Mad VR appeals to folks that would be more prepared to, really want to dive into enabling those tweaks, and not necessarily wanting to be a purist, but for your video signal, but wanting to use those algorithms and try to take your image to another level by using those algorithms, pulling that detail, using the interpolations and all the different things that the Mad VR does. Whereas for less money, for considerably less money, the Lumigen does excellent tone mapping, does excellent processing, takes care of aspect ratio management, and all of those things. It doesn't make it any worse of a device. I think in some respects, it's like McDonald's and Burger King, right, or whatever. Not that I really eat at either restaurant, but it's just two slightly different takes on the same theme, and they're kind of appealing to slightly different use cases depending on perhaps how much you want to spend to get certain features and whatnot into your theater, and again, like how much processing, how you feel about adding processing and kind of layering in processing to what you're watching. Michael, what do you think of anamorphic lenses if you mainly watch scope? So the whole purpose of the anamorphic lens, I think, holds value in that if you have a scope screen, you use a processor potentially to manage your aspect ratios and stuff. You're zooming up, you're zooming in, and you're pushing or masking pixels and all of that off the screen. You're basically using less of your pixels, you're using less of your resolution, and by virtue of that, you're using a lot less of your available light output from your projector in order to do that. So specifically, if you go back to specifically, I think actually to the longer stream that I did with Chris Deering when we had the Lumigen here originally set up, one of the things that I wasn't sure exactly how it would work out is like, okay, it makes sense to me. We zoom this thing up, and it's always fixed, right? You always leave the projector in the 240 full fill up your screen fixed zoom setting. So when you're using the processor and the processor figures out how to put the image with certain variables and constraints and stuff potentially based on your preferences, but it figures out what to do with the image. So that means if you're watching a 16:9 content with a scope screen and a processor, you're actually watching 16:9 content in a much smaller pixel space, rather than if you zoomed it all the way back down. So in some respects, it's actually a superior experience to not have the processor and use the lens memories, because then when you're watching 16:9 content, you zoom everything back down till your 16:9 image is fitting the height of your screen. You're using the entire vertical resolution of the projector. It's a one-to-one map to the vertical resolution of the source, and it's filling out as wide as it can go, versus being a smaller like window of that when you're zoomed up and you're using the processor. The counter argument to that is, does anybody really notice that loss of resolution and the scaling and stuff that's happening in there? And I talked with Chris about this even one-on-one offline quite a bit, because it's kind of like the bummer side effect of adding in the processor and doing things that way. But it is what it is. You get what you get. But that's why you would bring a lens back in, because now now the lens would give you the ability to get those pixels back on the screen and have things squished and re-stretched to fill, using all of the image, all of the original pixel space and image space and brightness and so on, of what the projector is actually able to output by optically manipulating the path of the light. So the main reason that you would add an anamorphic lens in those cases is basically to get the brightness back, right, and be able to get back to more full resolution. A couple other comments here. We'll get to these headphones. Chintaput, welcome. Yeah, it was QM8. Yeah, that's the new TCL. I'm really excited to see when that line, in particular that 98 hits. I'll be watching all the other all the TV YouTube guys, and very curious to see what their take on that set is. I hope it's awesome because I think just like the Epson LS 12,000, I think is like a projector market breaker against Sony, right, and against JVC for everything that they packed into that at $5,000. I think TCL has a chance to be like a market breaker with the big 98 QM8 if they undercut Sony's 98 by some thousands of dollars. This thing goes on sale later on in the year, and if it's an awesome TV, could be pretty sweet. Yeah, Michael's saying, yeah, that's my thought. I like MadVR. I've seen anamorphic lens as priority right after K. Yeah, so stack up all these expensive things. We've got you're gonna need, you're setting up a theater. You got a projector. You got a screen. Of course, you need those before you move on to anything else. But we got kaleidoscope. We got video processors. We got the lens. The cool thing is like you don't have to have them all at the same time for stuff to work. You need the projector. You need the screen, and then you kind of got to decide what's next. Is it maybe a kaleidoscope? Is it a video processor? But I think you would want to add, unless you're really fixed aspect ratios, you're going to need the video processor before the lens, because you need the video processor to be doing things to maximize the use of the lens. So there is a little bit of a sequencing, I think, or like a continuity element to it there. Michael's saying, would you consider a Sony TV? I would go back to Sony. They burned me hard on the 900H. I think that TV was really great, except for all of its failure to deliver on its 4K VRR 120 hertz processing and all that stuff. But I wouldn't have any problem doing a Sony again. Although if I were to learn from my mistake, I would make sure that if I were to buy a Sony TV, it should be doing all of the technical features that I want it to do out of the box, and not on a to be determined, to be released future firmware kind of situation again. But I think the LG is great. I think the OLED is great. But I wouldn't have a problem, if going to a mini LED or back to some type of an LED TV, if it made sense. And still, to me, size really matters, right, in this hobby. And so watching stuff, playing games, and all of that at 98 inches over 83 would have a lot of value to it that I would have to weigh very heavily against, mini LED versus OLED or brand, or even like stepping down, because in a lot of cases it's not the top models from these manufacturers that end up being the 98. It's like a step down model, right? That's the case for Sony. The the X90L, it's not an X95L. I think the 95 tops out at 85 inches. So there's features and picture quality in like the smaller sizes of the step up model, and LG did that as well. Like the G3, the 77 and smaller G3s are the MLAs or whatever, and it doesn't have the same technology in the 83 G3. But that size would be more impactful than anything else. All right, let's unbox something here. So I did, of course, I have them. I went ahead with this purchase, and I'll admit it's going to be an interesting evaluation for me, kind of tinkering around with these and getting a feel for them and all that, because I've not historically been a large headphone user, or certainly not like a critical listening headphone user. In fact, this is really the only pair of headphones, full-on headphones, that I probably ever owned. This is a Sennheiser Game 1. These have actually been in my drawer for a long time. I'm probably overdue. Well, now, especially that I have the focals, I'm going to have to sell these things. Hopefully get a little bit of money back out of them. But, I use these really only for gaming. And when I was using them for gaming, it was just to game in the living room later at night when I wanted to turn up some volume and not disturb the other folks in the house. But what I always found with these is like they're supposed to be open back, but I couldn't wear these for a long period of time, or like the pressure would mount up in my ears. So sitting at my desk here, I've been slumming it with the Apple solution on my MacBook here. So, but after being home so long for COVID and work from home and all that, and sitting here with these in-ear things, I can't hardly tolerate them anymore, to the point where they bug me. Of course, I have the Apple AirPods. These are not the Pros. These are just the latest model of the regular AirPods. So I use these as well if I need to go wireless or break away. This has been my gym wear for a long time, and I bought from the version 1. I think these are we're on version 3 now, or from version 1 to 2 or to 3 or 1 to 2. I haven't had very good luck with these, though. These things are failing me miserably and have been for a long time, and I have not been happy at all with the customer service that I got out of Apple dealing with them. The left one doesn't hold a charge, and it just discharges, and you go to use them and the left one is never charged. But in any case, sitting here all day long, I needed to get stuff out of my ears. And if I'm going to put on a pair of headphones, why not stick with the brand that I'm running all their speakers in all my rooms? And so I think these will have some cool features, and I'm very, very curious to put them kind of through their paces. So as I mentioned, I only had taken the plastic off the box. So we're going to kind of open this up and look together at the first time here. Pretty nice packaging, as we would expect. I think MSRP or whatnot, right? These are around like $700, give or take. There was recently a sale if anybody was thinking about these. Hopefully you were able to capitalize on the sale. I did link it, and I did buy these from Audio Advice. So to put my money where where my mouth is, recommending them to everybody. I've got the affiliate relationship with them set up. I did purchase these from Audio Advice, and I'll tell you what, they shipped them like too fast. Literally, I confirmed the order. They went out like the same day, and they were here. It was last Wednesday. Technically, I think I confirmed the order, and they were delivered on Friday. I wasn't even expecting that. I was waiting because we were going away for the weekend. I didn't want them to be delivered and end up sitting on the porch or whatever too long, and they shipped them too fast. So, all right, so what do we got in here? We got some this isn't documentation, little promotional stuff here. Focal Collections, talking about their speakers, Utopias and all that. And then we got a quick start guide. There's some QR codes as well. Focal.com quick start / Bathys. I don't know how you say these things as well. Bathys. And then there's another one for Focal.com / application. So this, not a whole lot to this. We've got some very simple pictorials in here. I guess unzip it, take them out. There's a lot of different modes and kind of electronic capability built in here, right? They're noise canceling. Google built right on the box. We got logos here. Google built in. We've got Alexa built in, made for iPhone, iPad, and all that. So nice case. Not too large actually as well. This would fit nicely to be able to take it on an airport. I very much look forward to using these when I fly. I usually always forget to do or bring something else, and I get stuck with just like these guys. If you want to damage your hearing, right, go on a plane with these because you really can't hear anything unless you basically turn the volume up to maximum, and then you're just literally torching your ears. Let's see. I don't want to open it the wrong. Oh, it goes this way. All right. So when you open it up, the little loop tab is on the left, and we got take the silica packet out. So inside the case, we've got a little storage room. There's actually nothing in there, but you could put a couple other things. And we've got two cables. So 3.5 millimeter. Gotta get the stuff in the right camera view. focus here. So 3.5 millimeter, 3.5 millimeter, and then we've got USB-C. USB-C to USB-C, pretty awesome. I love USB-C everywhere. That's definitely what I want to see. And here we go. The main event, the star of the show. So nice little case. It's partitioned there. So those little like C cup loops that these were twisting. So that's how they go into the case. Just to show this again, they twist and they sit in there kind of down flush. And then the top, of course, goes over that middle loop. The cable's in the middle. I do like this as well. You know, Velcro. This is nice Velcro to hold the cables up together versus a twist tie. So that means the Velcro, it's attached. Perfect. So the Velcro strip is attached. So when you're done with them and you strap them up, you've got your built-in kind of cable management. You can get them back small and tight and get them right back into the case there. Let's see. Oh, we can peel the stickers off. Awesome. Focal logo on the side. We'll peel both of these off here. The squiggly F on the side there. I'm going to take a look kind of inside. How do we want to do this? There we go. You can see the drivers. They have a little cover, little speaker grill over the cover there. So let's see, is there a left and right designation? So, we got controls. Let's go over controls. So I see a Bluetooth control here. We'll go this way. Bluetooth control, that might kind of be a sync and an up and down. Got options for the DAC, on, off, on, and DAC. And then another one. Let's see. Oh, no, there's our USB-C. There's our 3.5 plug. This is another button. Not sure what that button does. On this side, we've got not sure what that one is as well. That's the only button on this side. So I presume we go most of the controls on the right. So what do we think here? I'm curious what people will want to see me cover with regards to these. And as well, if you're a headphone aficionado, sound off in the comments. Let me know. Do you use headphones regularly? What do you like? What brand do you have? Nice leather or leatherette covers here. Definitely putting these things over my ears, without even turning stuff on or turning the active noise canceling on. They feel pressurized, so it'll be interesting to see how these feel on my head all day long for a period of time. I presume we charge them on the USB-C as well. So this will be fun. This will be something fun to explore and certainly mess around with. Use them for a few days, get a feel for all of the different features and capabilities and whatnot, and then make some dedicated content around them and update in a future live stream as well. So again, along the way, if folks want to learn more about these things, let me know what I can share, what I can say, and so on. A couple more quick shout out. Sammy Prescott, channel member. Got that green, awesome looking green name there. How's it going? Thanks for coming out. Julius, are the ear cushions Velcroed on for easy replacement? Let's take a look. I don't want to pull too hard. Doesn't seem so. I'm not seeing any easy mechanism to remove these. They're fixed in there pretty good. So when those get worn out, I don't know what you do. Possibly not buy a new pair. Maybe they have a replacement program or something. But I don't see any release controls or anything like that going on. Aluminum magnesium. So these probably have the same drivers that are in like the Aria, Cora, the newer models. Not beryllium, not a beryllium tweeter. One of the things I'm not sure that I want to do as well is like, depending on how these sound and how they work, is like, will I take these to the gym? I'm not sure about that. One, they're much more expensive, than these. So I don't want to mess them up, or damage them and whatnot. And I don't think that I want to get them all sweaty and stuff as well. So I'm not sure that they'll be a gym replacement. Probably travel, home, and so on kind of use. So we'll see. I'm wondering, this probably like engages the noise canceling. There's got to be something to turn on or adjust the noise canceling features and maybe tweak it. I don't know if there's like a whole control app and stuff as well. So there'll be a lot to experiment with and play around with on these guys, but pretty cool nonetheless. So Friday, I'll be in the office tomorrow, but Friday will probably be the first day that I get them set up and put them through their paces, sitting here at the desk all day long. So, any other questions? Any other topics? Anything else that folks have on their mind tonight? Like I said, I definitely got a lot of things that I need to spin out some content around. We got the Max app, HBO Max, in the last few weeks here has turned in to Max. I've got that all set up now. HBO Max apps are dead. We had some trouble with Max on the Apple TV. I didn't even get really a chance to make that video. It wasn't engaging some of the auto HDR and the auto mode changes that the Apple TV is supposed to do, but that seems to be working now. So I want to check back in on like Max quality. We've had some interesting things happen with the digital censorship, and I've specifically had a couple folks reach out to me in emails kind of asking for my opinions on that. The French Connection, older movie on digital platforms, had some dialogue cut out and censored out. And so that's drawn up some conversation about, people being afraid of digital ownership and wanting to own physical media because physical media can't be changed and so on. So there's some good topics there that I'm hoping to dig into in some future content as well. Sammy asking, so I talked a little bit about the Sony event a little while back. It was an event for dealers. They had all the new, or almost all the new L series TVs, including the big 98 90X 98X90L. They had all three of the laser projectors. They had the GTZ 380, I think it's GTZ. There's a Mad VR Envy Extreme Mark II there that was demoed, and some interesting conversation about LED walls and all that. Again, the event was really much more focused on the dealer launch, and like in some ways you could say dealer training, trying to get dealers inspired about Sony products. Oh, they had the new receivers too, with a multi-channel room setup where the projectors were it was Dolly speakers they were using. It wasn't specifically only a Sony event. It was put on by a third party, like local distribution marketing company that reps a bunch of brands. Hence the reason that some of these other things popped up there, like the Mad VR and so on. But it was pretty cool, and I got to see again my first full-on in-room Mad VR demo, looking at tone mapping, looking at all the aspect ratio things live, and then of course the motion interpolation features that are coming as well, which was very interesting. I quite liked it. I think I haven't gotten down back into the theater. The one thing I want to go watch, the couple of scenes that Ryan was showing the motion interpolation stuff off on, again, Baby Driver and the 1917 scene where it's a daytime scene and there's a camera pan around like a battle environment, and there's trees and stuff like that. I'm really very, very curious to look at those scenes in my theater with just what I have, just basically the JVC NX7 and see how bad it looks relative to what the Mad VR was able to do on those scenes. Again, I quite liked it. I'm very eager to get a Mad VR demo going, and hopefully, one way or another, be able to do that here coming up. So, anything else? Any other thoughts, questions? We're coming up on the hour. Maybe we'll make this one a little shorter here tonight, but I'm happy to take other topics, other questions. And I think I'll be ready to put a confirmation in on some other purchases soon, probably those Buckeye amps in the coming weeks here as well. But this will be the new toy to tinker around with for a little bit. Going back through the comments, make sure I didn't miss anything. So yeah, so we're good. Channel's doing awesome. Thanks everybody again. We were sailed right past 8,500 subs. Very happy with all of that and the growth. I should ask as well. I've got still got quite a few 1 year Infuse Pro codes. So if anybody that's watching here is interested in one of those Infuse codes, let me know. Reach out to me on jeremypyle.com. Let me know that, hey, you were in the live stream and you heard the offer, and I'd be happy to share one of those codes with you. Yeah, Sammy's saying, yeah, Motion AI is pretty nice feature to have. Yeah, I wonder if it's like the kind of thing that you would just kind of generally get comfortable with and leave on all the time, or if you would like use it when there were very specific issues or challenges, not issues, but let's say challenges in a piece of content or a movie that you would want it applied to. I'm definitely much more of like a set it and forget it. That's the one thing that would scare me about owning, in some ways, owning a Mad VR is like the limitless options to be able to tweak and play with things and try to arrive at like a right setup for myself that I'm kind of happy with across all content, and just leave it that way, and not constantly be like tinkering or having some doubt in my mind, like, oh, we should be moving this slider up or down, or adding a little bit more add a little more motion, tweak the tone mapping algorithm, or maybe some of this, stretch or whatever things in different ways. That's one of my major hangups, in fact, with like even PC gaming is tweaking stuff. That's why I try to solve my PC gaming tweak aptitude, or drawn by tweaking, by just buying the most powerful GPUs and stuff I can get, and being able to just maximize games versus having to constantly tweak and stuff and and mess around. Yeah, most of it you can set it and forget it. Yeah. Julius asking, what are your thoughts about interconnect break-in period? If you mean your cable like HDMI cables or audio cables, I would say that the concept of an interconnect break-in period wouldn't even enter my mind. I would just plug stuff in and use it. I don't think I would be able to detect anything along those lines happening with a cable connecting any equipment, digital or analog. Yeah, Sammy's saying on mine, I rarely touch it. So I guess the question for Sammy would be, did it take you a little while to arrive at the settings that you use as well? So you did tinker initially in the middle, and then you got it kind of tuned to taste, or did you use something a little more default out of the box and found that that gave you what you wanted with your Mad VR? All right. So I think we'll probably call it here at the hour. I appreciate everybody coming out. Some fun musings. Again, bunch of stuff going on. I got a bunch of content to film here coming up. lot more on the focals coming, and looking forward. The days are ticking down, so hopefully I will see some of you at Audio Advice Live at the beginning of August. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make M-Wave. We already had another family vacation activity planned, so I will be vacationing and having a good time, but I won't be able to make M-Wave. Audio Advice, though, is for sure a lock. So Sammy's saying tune based on measurements and what I know is right. Motion ad slightly different though. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Take a look at the channel, content coming. Like, subscribe, do all that regular YouTube stuff. Check out the Instagram as well, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back live before you know it.